coming up from the Northeast Live studios in Guwahati. Northeast Tonight with Wasbir Hussain.
Hello and welcome to Northeast Tonight, the show that decodes the region. Well, viewers, Assam is heading for the second phase of the elections to be held in 39 constituencies spread over 13 districts, including the Bengali-dominated Barak Valley. The fate of 345 candidates will be decided by 73.44 lakh voters in this phase of the polls to be held on Thursday, 1st of April. First, let's take a look at the 2016 tally in these 39 seats. The BJP had bagged 22 of these 39 seats in 2016. AGP had won 2 seats, Congress 6, AIUDF 5, and the Bodoland People's Front had won 4. From winning just one of these 39 seats in 2011, the BJP snatched 22 seats in 2016. That had been a phenomenal performance. On the other hand, the Congress tally in these 39 seats came down from 29 in 2011 to just 6 in 2016. The big question now is whether the BJP can put up a repeat performance in these 39 seats this time round. The focus to a large extent is on the 15 Barak Valley seats. In 2016, the BJP had won 8 seats, Congress 3 and the AIUDF 4. That was the Barak Valley tally. Question arises whether the BJP is in for a tough fight from the Congress and the AIUDF, which have come together under the Mahajot and therefore fighting jointly. The BJP says it is not arithmetic but chemistry which will secure its big win this time in the Barak Valley. Another big factor in the second phase of the polls is the issue of the Citizenship Amendment Act. While CAA is expected to benefit the BJP in the Barak Valley, it may be a factor the party may have to encounter in certain parts of central Assam going to the polls in the second phase. Again, the Congress in the Barak Valley is peeved over a few seats being left by the party for the AIUDF. What impact this could have remains to be seen. Again, the BJP says a sizable chunk of Muslims in the Barak Valley are expected to vote for the Saffron party. We'll have to wait and watch again. To discuss the possibilities, I am joined by Assam BJP Vice President Mr. Swapnanil Barua. Also joining me is Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, Professor at NEHU and a commentator. UPPL Secretary Raju Narjari is joining me from Kokrajhar. Also with me is Professor Joydeep Biswas from Kachar College in Silchar. And from Guwahati University, I am joined by Dr. Rajiv Handik, Professor and commentator. Gentlemen, welcome to Northeast Tonight. Firstly, to you, Mr. Swapnanil Barua, your party had won just 1 seat out of this 39 that is going to the polls on Thursday, that is the 1st of April. In 2011, the BJP had 1 seat, one of these 39 seats, and in 2016, you had won 22. But the point is, a lot of people want to know now that the Congress and the AIUDF has come into an alliance, there is a Mahajot, can you simply dismiss this alliance? Can you be overconfident? Can you say that you are going to make a repeat performance of what you did in 2016, winning 22 of these 39 seats going to the polls on 1st?
Our feedback is that we are going to do better than last time, at least 2016, because if you see the parliamentary election votes, especially in the Karimganj HPC, where we had done very well, and it was not only the majority community which contributed towards the success of the candidate, but also a sizable amount of minority people voted for the BJP. And when I say sizable, means it is not just in 1,000 or 2,000 or something like that. It was nearly 20,000 votes, which we got more than what we had secured in the previous parliamentary election. So that is an indicator, and as our principal campaigner, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sarma, has always been saying that it is not mathematics but chemistry. The chemistry, if you had seen last night's performance, the road show, it was virtually a melee kind of a situation, which is an indicator that even at 11 o'clock when people are coming out to join the rally, means that there is some kind of a swell support amongst the people, and they have faith and confidence in the party to pull them through. So irrespective of whatever it is, I don't think that and again there is a bit of infighting in between the Congress and the AIUDF regarding seats sharing, and knowing how they are, although they are in an alliance, I don't think they are at alliance at hearts. And so we believe that that will contribute to some votes be switching over to the BJP, which will ultimately affect the tally. So of the 15 in Barak Valley, I think our feedback is that 10 we are sure, and the tally could improve even further.
Okay, we'll focus rather closely on the Barak Valley. We have two very well-known commentators from the Barak Valley, but I'll come to that in a minute. Before that, giving an overview, I'm coming to you, Dr. Rajiv Hendik. As I said, the BJP had won 22 of these 39 seats in 2016, up from 1 5 years earlier, that is in 2011. And the Congress tally had come down from 29 out of these 39 seats in 2011 to just 6. Of course, the AIUDF had improved from 3 in 2011 to 5 in 2016. We are talking about these 39 seats going to the polls in the second phase. Now, BJP is saying that it's not arithmetic, it is chemistry that is going to determine the verdict. How do you look at it, Rajiv Hendik?
Well, firstly, let me tell you one thing, that this phase of election is truly held in the Barak Brahmaputra and Pahar Bhoyang. It is connecting the hills and plains, the Barak Valley and the Brahmaputra Valley. So you have a plethora of constituencies stretching out from the southernmost tip to the northernmost, parts of Assam. So indeed, and it also encompasses the hill districts. So it will be a very interesting fight. And regarding who is going to win, let me tell you one thing. Political parties will say that if the chemistry actually favors them, they will say that chemistry will work. And if they say that, mathematics or arithmetic, favors them, they will say that arithmetic or mathematics will work. But going by the vote numbers, because we have no other data except the 2016 data, if we have that at hand, at least in the Barak Valley, I think Patharkanbi, Sonai, Borkhola, Katigora, these are the 4 seats which I think BJP will be very, very, it will be very hard for them to actually hold on to them, because the combined vote strength of all the, of AIDF and Congress in 4 of the seats, it is actually, it's quite high. It's quite high actually.
Okay.
Going beyond 25,000.
That is the reason I was asking the BJP. In fact, if you can pull up that bite from Dr. Rajdeep Roy's interview, where in the very first and second questions, I had asked him yesterday that, whether this 2 combined vote share, if we add the Congress and AIUDF votes share, it is much more than what the BJP winning candidates had got in 2016. But then he replied later on that it's not arithmetic but chemistry. But let me come to you, Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, professor at NEHU and a well-known commentator. Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, as we have discussed, the BJP had won 8 of the 15 seats in Barak Valley in 2016. Do you think that Congress AIUDF is set to put up a tough fight this time, as they are in an alliance called Mahajot and can therefore prevent a split in votes?
Yes, apparently it looks like that was their electoral strategy. But the point is the level of achievement by the Sarbananda Sonowal government and the image building consistently by Hemanta Biswa Sarma will pose a stiff challenge to the easy equation, which is demographic equation, between combining the minority and the linguistic minority votes together, which is the target voters of Congress and UDF together. So there seems to be a certain kind of a demographic politics here, a politics of mobilizing linguistic and religious minority, as opposed to the politics of image building, perception around the 5 years kind of development, which people do compare with the Congress regime. So in comparative terms, whichever way people find it as more beneficial, votes will tilt to that, and demography will not be the single most important factor. It may be a factor to swing votes from this side to that side, but it won't radically determine the voting outcome.
Right. Let me come to you, Dr. Jaideep Biswas, Professor Kachar Collins. Professor Jaideep Biswas, there are several constituencies in the Barak Valley out of these 15 where the margin of win was very small in 2016. For example, the Karimganj North, the Congress won against Mishan Ranjan Das of the BJP by just 468 votes. If you take Badarpur, Jamaluddin Ahmed of the Congress defeated AIUDF candidate Abdul Aziz by just 2,088 votes. Then again, Hailakandi, Anwar Hassan Laskar AIUDF won, but the BJP came runners-up, Sambajit Datta Chaudhary, 2,608 votes. Again, Borkhala, Kishornath, BJP won, but Misbahul Islam Laskar of the independent was lost by just 42 votes. Now, in this kind of a equation, when the Congress and the AIUDF has come together, and simple arithmetic shows that, the votes will not be split, looking at it superficially, do you think, is it as simple as that? Do you think the BJP is in for a tough fight, or do you think that is not the case?
Well, Wasbir, the standard adage is that if it's the arithmetic which works in elections in case of such an alliance, it's more important is the chemistry. That if what arithmetic proposes, chemistry disposes. But that's not perhaps going to happen in case of Barak Valley, or for that matter in any part of Assam this year, because if we just take a reference to the 17 March interview that Hemanta Biswa Sarma gave to the Indian Express, where actually he set the tone of the campaign for the BJP in Assam, and where he was very clear, so to say, almost he was appearing like a blunt politician, to quote a word you used for Tarun Gogoi's biography. He was very clear and categorical and candid to say that developments don't work. It's the identity that actually works to win elections in Assam. Now, if that is the case, and I'm sure Hemanta is right, and secondly, the way Hemanta Biswa Sarma and the entire BJP campaign has been going around, where Ajmal is being demonized, and actually he is being used as a symbol of the other, and in the name of Ajmal, that Ajmal will become the chief minister if you vote for the Congress. Now, that kind of a pseudo-racial campaign which is going around, there I don't think BJP has done any good measure of what it normally called the confidence building measure to win back or to win the minority votes. So here arithmetic will actually play and not the chemistry, number one. Number two, in case of Barak Valley, one more issue is very important this time around, and which is BJP's selection of candidates in certain seats. Actually, BJP's job would have been much easier had there not been this fiasco around the selection of candidates. You go seat by seat, you will find everywhere there is internecine feud in the BJP, which is really making things difficult for the BJP.
But Professor Jaideep Biswas, the Congress was also peeved. Congress was extremely upset over the party leaving few seats to the AIUDF. There was total discontentment within the Congress, and senior leader in the Barak Valley, Susmita Dev, had openly expressed her displeasure. Don't you think that is also going to work against the BJP, or sorry, against the Mahajot, and balance out things, what you were saying, neutralize the advantage or quote unquote advantage which the Mahajot may have?
You are partially right, but the thing is that since that drama around Sushmita Dev allegedly quitting the Congress or tendering her resignation, things have improved a lot on the ground, and Congress appears to be a real united outfit, at least on the surface. Definitely down under there may be problems, but
Okay.
throughout the campaign trail in the Barak Valley, Congress has put up a real united front. But
Okay.
as far as the BJP is concerned, their bickerings have come overboard, and every day new stories of corruptions and all are coming there, and which are not doing any good to the BJP in any way.
Right. I'll come back to you. Let me go to Raju Narjari, the secretary of the UPPL, joining me live from Kokrajhar. Raju Narjari, the UPPL, your party is an alliance of the BJP now. In 2016, the BPF had won 4 seats, 4 out of these 39 seats, which is going to the polls on 1st of April. 4 seats were won by the BPF. In 2011, the BPF had won 3 seats. We are talking about seats like Udalguri, Paneri, and so on. Kalaigaon, and so on. So these are the seats I'm talking about. Now, how easy or difficult it is going to be for the UPPL, because this is your first election that you are facing as a political party. That you are an alliance of the BJP is a different story, but you are contesting your first election. How easy or difficult it is going to be, because whatever you win, even if you win the seat, it will impact. Even if you lose the seat, it will impact in the overall results that we are expecting on the 2nd of May. Raju Narjari.
First of all, as you mentioned, last time the BPF had won these seats with the support from Bharatiya Janata Party. This time, on the second phase of election, 4 seats are going to be polled. Paneri, Masbat, Kalaigaon and Udalguri, these 4 seats. And UPPL is contesting in 3 seats, and one is Udalguri seat is contested by UPPL, Paneri is contested by BJP, and in Masbat and Kalaigaon there is a friendly contest. So I would like to say that all these 4 seats, going by the records of the previous election, 2016 election, whichever party allies with Bharatiya Janata Party, because there is a very strong presence of Bharatiya Janata Party in that district, and UPPL also has a very strong presence. So both the parties coming together, all the 4 seats will be swept this time.
Okay.
By,
Can I say-
All right.
Can-
Now, I'm coming to you, Mr. Swapnil Barua, Vice President of the Assam BJP. Mr. Swapnil Barua, only today, you have in fact just come straight to the studio, straight to this program from Paneri and Kalaigaon and so on. So why do you think what Raju Narjari is saying, that last time the BPF had won these 4 seats because the BJP had supported? So does it automatically mean that this time that you are supporting the UPPL, or UPPL is your ally, so the same results are you expecting even this time?
In fact, I am expecting a better, in the margins, I think we'll definitely have a much more better figure, because the gelling that I saw today, starting from, Atari Khat all the way to Dimakusi through Paneri, and then I went into a few gardens also, and I found that, UPPL is very welcome to the people there, man on the street. I didn't carry anything which would identify me. I just went as a normal citizen and had a chat because I had worked in that area for a long time ago, and I have a certain amount of contact with the people. But that is what I found out, is that there is a great support and faith and confidence on the UPPL, and on the contrary, there is a charge of very petty corruption. That corruption had gone to petty levels in the time of the BPF, which has irritated a lot of people. I went into a garden which had a MLC called Mr. Tanti, I think the amount of corruption that he had done, he was from the labor community. The people were very annoyed with what he had done, because the individual beneficiary schemes which the BPF had tried to do really did not happen on the ground. Although they might have done some roads and all, which I think has been improved, but overall I think the people are very annoyed that individual benefit schemes which came through the BPF government did not reach the people, which they expect that the UPPL will get it for them with the support of BJP. So they have confidence both on the UPPL and
As
also
well
on
as
the
the
BJP. So I find that the numbers, the polling would be much better than last time in the 4 seats.
All right. I'll go back to my panelist in the Barak Valley, but before that, to Dr. Rajiv Hendik. Dr. Rajiv Hendik, I've got some very interesting statistics with me. In these 39 seats, the BJP has fielded 34 candidates of its own, AGP has put up 6 candidates, and UPPL 3. Why you are finding it more than 39 is because BJP and AGP has friendly contest in 2 seats and BJP and UPPL has friendly contest in 2 seats. Now, BJP has is fighting 34 seats on its own, whereas if you look at the other formation, the Congress is only contesting 28 seats on its own and left 7 seats for the AIUDF, 4 to the BPF, 3 to the CPIML, 1 to CPIM and 1 to CPI. And here also there are friendly fights. Congress and AIUDF have friendly contest in 2 seats and Congress and CPIML has friendly contest in 3 seats. Now, with this kind of a, coalition, politics, total, adjustment of seats and so on, permutation, combination by the political parties, and therefore they have put up these candidates. Now, there will be a lot of heartburn, because in all these constituencies, there were people from, if you look at the BJP formation, there were BJP, there were AGP people working, hoping to get the seats. And then on the Congress side, most of the seats, AUDF was also working, hoping to contest, but they had to compromise. Now, how will this impact in the overall voting behavior? What will be the verdict be?
No, that is very difficult to say. It's a very complicated issue.
Yeah.
But overall, actually, I think both the Mitrojut and the Mahajut, they have considered arithmetics more than anything else while deciding on these contestants or deciding on the the candidates that they have chosen. And even in seats which they have actually they are having friendly contest, they are seeing to it that they will actually finally emerge as the winner in that particular seat. So I think that is the strategy they have taken. But as you have said, there will be heartburns, there will be maybe some sort of dissidence also, and I don't know where the how they will garner all the votes. The main point is actually getting all the people who have voted for them last time vote together in favor of the candidate that they have actually in a way they have put forward.
Right.
I think you told me about you just before we left. I think you told about a candidate, Misbahul, if I remember correctly. There are actually very interesting, seats. For example, in Sipazhar itself, overnight, one person from AGP goes and joins the BJP camp or the party, and then he is given the ticket.
Right.
And I have seen that in a few places, what has happened is AGP was the third actually, and BJP have got far more seats, far more votes than the AGP candidate. Yet this time, it is the AGP that is being allowed to fight. So these type of permutation combinations, they are being made. They are being made, and interestingly, there are a few candidates who fought as independents in the last election, that is in 2016.
Right.
And now they have been given tickets, both by both Mitrojut and Mahajut.
Absolutely. But interestingly, in these 39 seats that are going to polls in the second phase, there are only 19 sitting MLAs. That means all the parties combined together have put up 20 new faces, which is also very significant. 20 new faces are coming up. So people are going to select. They have got a lot of options to select. That is also a factor we cannot ignore. Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, Acha, before that, Dr. Prasenjit Biswas and Dr. Joydeep Biswas, let us play. I had talked to Dr. Rajdeep Roy, BJP MP from Silchar yesterday. We had telecast this interview yesterday. He was talking about arithmetic, why it is not going to be arithmetic but chemistry that is going to work. Let's listen in very quickly to this clip from that interview. Dr. Rajdeep Roy, Barak Valley has 15 assembly seats. You have an ear to the ground. What could be the contribution of the 3 districts to the BJP's overall tally this time round?
Just before discussing the tally, I would like to say something. Like, we have given candidates in 14 out of 15 seats, and 1 we have left to the AGP. So basically, we are contesting in all the 15 seats as NDA allies. We are contesting, and our position is absolutely good. The ground report is that Bharatiya Janata Party with its ally AGP in the entire Barak Valley is doing exceedingly well. Previously we had around 8 seats, and now we are expecting to get around 12 to 13 seats with our allies.
But would you agree that the Congress AIUDF alliance has posed a serious problem this time? Because if you add up the vote share of the Congress and the AIUDF in 2016, for example, then the total comes much higher than the vote share of what your party candidates had got in 2016.
Your question is absolutely valid, but sometimes arithmetic fails and chemistry wins. I'll tell you why and all. 2019, after the 2000 election, in 2019 election, in the Silchar Lok Sabha seat, AIUDF did not give a candidate. They favored, their candidate was the Congress candidate, Ms. Susmita Dev. And in a constituency of 12 lakh population, where we have 7 seats and all, in this election, last year, 2 years back, we managed to beat arithmetic, chemistry won, despite not giving a seat, despite Congress thinking that all the AIUDF vote will get transferred to Congress. It actually did not happen on the ground. And ultimately, I could register a win by almost 85,000 votes, despite being a 1-1 fight. So we are hoping that things will repeat in most of the constituencies, because I'll tell you, with my, as you said,
okay, I'll very quickly, thank you. That was what Rajdeep Roy had told me yesterday, where he talks about arithmetic not winning, but chemistry doing the talking this time. Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, very quickly from you, I have to go for a break. Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, you have heard Dr. Rajdeep Roy. So adding up the vote share may not be the answer, really. It's not as simple as that.
Yes.
Yes, obviously. It will not be so easy to add up these votes in a very arithmetic sense. But the point here is that in a minority-dominated constituency such as Sonai, Barkhala or Katigora, there is a clear swing of votes so far away from the BJP. Now, BJP could have made a little more inclusive kind of a call or a plank in their voting campaign. But what has happened in BJP manifesto is that the manifesto was not very clear about categorically stating the kind of development projects that it will work out for the minorities. Therefore, there seems to be a communication gap here between the BJP and the large or the vast sections of linguistic and cultural and religious minorities in various minority-dominated constituencies of Barak Valley.
Okay. Would you like to quickly respond?
Yes,
he said that minorities, Rajdeep Roy had also gone on to say in that interview that a lot of Muslims are going to vote for the BJP this time. But what Prasenjit Biswas is saying is that BJP is not clear about what it is going to do for the Muslims.
No, not that. It has been made very clear, and I think there is, unfortunately, I didn't bring the manifesto along with me. There is a special chapter dedicated to the Barak Valley in the manifesto, which mentions very clearly as to what are the steps going to be taken.
For the minorities?
For minorities and for the Barak Valley. Minorities as an overall, and particularly for Barak Valley, for
No,
improving.
he is saying about that Barak Valley
And
is
then-
fine, but all he is saying is that there was no specific mention of what the party is
because
going to do for the minorities.
Because for the minorities, it has been laid out very clearly in another chapter as to what is going to happen for the minorities.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's in the third or fourth chapter.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. I'll go for a break. But Joydeep Biswas, very quickly, what do you think? Because AIUDF also is Barak Valley is also a stronghold of the AIUDF because several seats the AIUDF has been winning in the last couple of years. Even in the last election, the party had won 4 seats. And even in the MP election in 2009, Badruddin Ajmal got about 2 lakh votes or so. I mean, what do you think AIUDF impact in the Barak Valley? Very quickly.
Well, let me tell you very clearly that it's going to be a real polarized electorate this time around. And the arithmetic being taken care of by chemistry, that kind of theory is not going to work too much, mainly because of the fact that such a theory works only when you have got a suspicion whether votes are actually being transferred on the ground. Means in a seat where suppose AUDF is contesting, whether Congress voters will vote in favor of the AUDF, and the same in case of somewhere where Congress is contesting and whether AUDF voters are going to vote for the Congress. So transfer of votes, if it doesn't take place, then only the chemistry thing comes. But in case of Barak Valley, what will actually happen, I mean, what I feel from my experience of observing Barak Valley elections for over 20 years, I find that the moment Congress and AUDF get in league, then what happens? There is a counter mobilization of Hindu votes. What Dr. Rajdeep Rai was telling you was practically he was correct arithmetically because last time in the parliamentary elections,
right,
there was no third candidate. It was a straight fight between Congress and the BJP, and it was the first time in the history of this constituency that in a straight fight BJP came victorious. It happened because there is a huge polarization. I mean, Congress couldn't hold on to even 7-8% of the non-Muslim votes in the constituency. As a result of that happened. So in a 50-50 situation, and we have got some constituencies where there is a 50-50 situations, and for the kind information of many of our viewers, in Barak Valley, interestingly, the Muslims are not minority. Muslims are in the majority. In two of the 3 districts, the Muslims are majority, and overall also, Muslims are the majority. So what happens in the constituency, suppose in case of Sonai, it's very easy to predict kind of a thing that, okay, when there is a Congress-AUDF coalition, obviously BJP will definitely be in a beleaguered spot. But that is not going to work, for example, in case of Borkhola, in case of Katigora, where the Hindus are at least technically in majority, I mean maybe by a few thousands. So what happens actually when the Congress and the AUDF, they just, as I said, they go together, then there is this Ajmal factor is played on. And you well understand that factor is actually played on by the BJP.
But Joydeep Biswas, for the record,
Hindu votes out of paranoia.
But for the record,
Yeah.
BJP had won the Sonai seat despite the demography. In 2016, it was not the Congress, but the BJP that had won the Sonai seat, and Congress had come. Congress, of course, had won it in 2011. Anyway, we'll come to that. I'll go for a short break. When I come back, I'll go straight to Raju Narjari of the UPPL in Kokrajhar and talk a little bit about the Bodo heartland politics, and then once again go back to Kokrajhar. Don't go away. I'll be right back, actually. Okay, I'll go straight to you, Raju Narjari in Kokrajhar, the secretary of the UPPL. Mr. Raju Narjari, this entire election is basically, whether anyone likes it or not, demography plays a very big role, because if we look at the first phase of the elections, the focus was on the tea garden community, apart from the Assamese caste Hindus and Assamese ethnic groups. in the second phase of the elections, we are talking about the Bengali-dominated Barak Valley. We are also talking about large chunks in central Assam, where there is a large minority population. We are talking about these 4 BTR seats, where there is a large number of Bodo population and so on, and apart from, of course, sprinkling of tea gardens and others. Now, my question to you, do you think UPPL will be more acceptable to the non-Bodo population? Because I'm asking you in view of the demographic, do you think your approach, inclusive approach, we have seen Pramod Boro speaking right from the time he took up his active political mantle, even in the Bodo BTC elections, he has been saying that we are for everybody. Is that the message you are trying to give out to the people in the Bodo heartland, that UPPL is a party that will look after the interest of whoever lives in the Bodo heartland?
First of all, the debate between arithmetic and chemistry, both are in favor. When it comes to BTR, both are in favor of UPPL and BJP. You see, last time in BTC election, the equation today is between BPF and UPPL. And the BPF is backed by Congress and AIUDF, and UPPL is backed by BJP. So last BTC election, AIUDF could not win a single seat, and Congress managed to win just 1 seat. That also now has joined BJP, so there is no Congress and AIUDF at all in BTC now. So arithmetic wise, UPPL and BJP definitely is in advantage. Secondly, of course, the issue of development, for last 17 years, people are really fed up with the regime of BPF led by Mr. Hagrama Mohilari. So in just 3 months of taking over the reign, Pramod Boro has been able to win the hearts and minds of people in BTR. You see the kind of support he is getting. You see the kind of love and affection that he is gaining every day. His popularity is increasing day by day. And added to that, the support from charismatic leadership such as Dr. Hemant Vishwa Sarma and Sarvanand Sonowal. You see the central leadership from BJP, India leadership, including Honorable Home Minister Amit Shah, who has done a couple of rallies. You see on the 1st of May, Honorable Prime Minister is coming. Again on the 3rd of April, Honorable Prime Minister again coming to Tamulpur. So that way, you see all the 12 seats inside BTR will be swept by BJP, and there are a couple of seats which is parts of it is in BTR, parts of it is in Assam, like you have Sorbhog, Bhubanipur, all the Gauripur, Bilasipara East,
Right.
all these seats are again going to be in favor of BJP.
Okay. Another interesting point, I'll go to my panelist in the Barak Valley, but before that, Dr. Rajiv Hendig, in the second phase of the elections, the Citizenship Amendment Act will be likely to be an issue because it is expected to directly help the BJP in the Barak Valley, but in areas like central Assam, it may create some kind of a problem because will be chunks of the electorate will be opposed to the Citizenship Amendment Act. How do you look at this? Do you think it is going to be a big issue? Because it appeared as if it was not an issue in the first phase.
It's very difficult to say actually whether it was an issue or not in the first phase, precisely because of the fact that I think there is an underlying talk about it all throughout, and whenever there is a polarizing campaign, whenever there is a question of identity, I think it does come in some way or other. Now, therefore, in this phase of election, I think it will be there. It will be a talking point to some extent.
It will be a talking point. Okay.
But it is also a fact. It's also a fact that I think people are also understanding that they are being used, by both the parties, for garnering votes. So this polarizing type of rhetoric, polarizing type of campaign that is going on, unfortunately, we in academics, we don't want that people should vote on religious lines or things like that, but that is the reality we are all facing, and we don't know where it will lead to.
Let me
But let me tell you that what Raju Narzad is saying. I don't know actually. I told you before that you ask anybody today if you have in the panel if you have had one Congress person, he would have said that both mathematics and chemistry, it is working their way.
Well,
So,
let me put it on.
seats like
Hold your thoughts. Hold your thoughts. Hold your thoughts,
It's
Rajiv
very
Hendy.
difficult actually to
Yeah,
defend.
absolutely. For the record, we had spoken to the Congress party for a representative for this show, but they were unable to send anybody. We have taken the utmost effort from our side, spoken to the chief spokesperson, and every spokesperson, nobody was available. That is for the record. Let me go to you, Prasenjit Biswas. What will be the impact of CAA in the second phase of the elections? Because CAA, generally everybody is saying that it will have a benefit the BJP to a great extent as far as the Barak Valley is concerned, but it will not be so in central Assam, where there are chunks of people who may not be happy with the CAA. Prasenjit.
Yes, I mean this will have a certain impact, but will not be a determining impact in case of Barak Valley, because CA has not been turned into rules for CA, and as it is, so many people are not going to benefit from CA. But the fear about NRC exclusion is still very much relevant in case of Barak Valley. The continuance of detention camp and the making of the biggest detention camp, etc., have become an election issue. Therefore, CA will be a critical issue for BJP to clinch the deal in its favor. But CA is not directly working in favor of deciding the votes for BJP, except in certain smaller segments of people who have recently migrated from Bangladesh and have taken shelter in Barak Valley.
Okay, let me take this to Dr. Jaideep Biswas. Dr. Jaideep Biswas, is CA an issue at all in the Barak Valley? How do you look at it? Because a lot of people are saying the anti-CA forces, whether it is the Congress, whether it is the AIUDF, or whether it is parties like the Ahom Jatiyo Parishad and Rise or Dal, the two new regional parties, everybody is saying that yes, the CA is definitely going to be an election issue, but the BJP does not think so. What is your assessment?
CA could have been a big issue in Barak Valley, but surprisingly enough, both the BJP and the Congress are very careful about maintaining a studied silence on the issue. Now, their predicament is understandable, because for the BJP, the problem is that they are yet to come up with the rules subsequent to the act. So their political intention of really dishing out citizenship to the partition victims is a big question still. Now, coming to the Congress, their problem is that they have got both the electorates to placate. They have got the Muslim electorate and they have got the Hindu electorates, and CA doesn't bring benefit to the both. So as a result of that, the Congress has been tactically reticent on the CA issue, and as a result of which now the campaign is over, and over the entire campaign trail, we didn't really see that CA, or even for that matter, NRC, which Dr. Prasenjit Biswas was so rightly, he was so right to mention that actually the NRC could have been an even bigger issue, because there is still the fate of the 19 lakhs NRC excluded, the hanging in the balance. And the government of India has been just dithering on it. And the BJP has come out in its manifesto saying that if they get back to the power, they will go for a second NRC. Now, first of all, I don't know how can a state government legislate on or take an opinion on whether a central piece of exercise like a National Register of Citizens update can be done by the BJP. But that does not matter much, because political perception is a different thing, and BJP has got that credibility among the Hindus, and they believe that yes, if the BJP get back to the power, they'll make a kind of an NRC which will be more and more quote unquote Muslim free. So actually, this could have been a bigger issue, but fortunately or unfortunately for the parties, this hasn't. And one more point I just would like to add was being, Assam being a multilingual, multicultural, multi-religious, multi-ethnic state, you can't bring in any kind of a policy regime where you can make everyone happy. I mean, there can't be a general equilibrium setup.
Right.
And finding a Pareto optimum situation is very difficult. So vis-a-vis CA, for example, there is a clear cleavage between the Barak Valley and the Brahmaputra Valley.
yeah.
And even within the valleys also, there are different binaries. So as a result, Congress has been very tactful in not mentioning that, and so also the BJP, as I said. So
Right.
issues actually at the moment in Barak Valley, I would say the more
Okay.
important issues are the candidates. If you go constituency wise, you will find everywhere candidates are playing a dominant role, where even in the polarized setup also some surprises may just spring up.
Okay, now Prasenjit Biswas, more than the Congress, it is AIUDF chief Badruddin Ajmal who has been the target of attack of the BJP in Assam this time. But my question to you is different. Barak Valley, as I have said in the earlier also in this debate, has been some kind of a stronghold for the AIUDF. But what would be Badruddin Ajmal's prospects this time? Of 2016, they won 4 seats.
I mean, at least they will not get lesser than 4 seats. It may increase by 1 or 2 more, because of Congress AIUDF alliance and because of minority mobilization and the combination between minorities and T tribes, especially in Karimganj and Hailakandi districts. So therefore, it will be able to retain the seats that it won, and maybe it will get an extra 1 or 2 more seats. And Congress may get 1 or 2 more seats. So combination wise, it will be more or less like the replication of last time's election results.
Okay, but Dr. Rajdeep Roy, who was talking to me, he had said yesterday that Muslims in the 3 districts are expected to vote for the BJP this time. Prasenjit.
Yes, as the leader of the BJP, he should expect, and being the member of parliament, he has done remarkable works. So therefore, his expectations are legitimate. But at the same time, minority voters are not so much convinced about BJP's positive agenda. Had they taken a few more steps to convince minority voters, had they actually initiated more development projects among the minority voters, then probably his expectations would have been more justified. Now it is only legitimate and not so much justified.
Now, Dr. Jaideep Biswas, we are talking serious issues, but if we forget about issues, if we look at how the BJP has campaigned, look at how many times the Prime Minister himself had come to the Barak Valley, JP Nadda had come to the Barak Valley, State President Ranjit Das was there doing strategy sessions, and look at the massive response which the Assam BJP's election mascot, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma's rallies or road shows have created. It was a frenzy. Yesterday's road show in Silchar and prior to that in Karimganj, Jaideep Biswas, I think Barak Valley has not seen that kind of mass, mobilization. I think these are people who are just following. So, how much change this kind of an election blitz is going to impact the voting behavior?
Well, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma is undoubtedly the signature voice in the election campaign. He has been just spearheading the campaign. He is the leader of the campaign. There is no doubt about that. And in fact, the politics of Assam, not only the elections, the politics of Assam rallies around him. So there is no doubt about that. So he is a master crowd puller. He is an excellent organizer, and BJP does have a real good organizational base in the valley. I mean, much before Himanta Biswa Sharma migrated to the Congress, the BJP in the Barak Valley had its base. Don't forget, in 1991,
yes,
the BJP won 9 out of the 15 seats from here, and
yes,
only one from the Brahmaputra Valley that time around, and that was the first time that the BJP entered Janata Bhavan. And in that year, from Sonai, and predominantly Muslim constituency, from Sonai, a Hindu BJP candidate, Badri Narayan Singh, won. So such miracle already happened in the valley. So Barak Valley does have got...
Yes. Yes. Carry on. Okay.
Can I add a point here?
Very quickly.
The thing is that in the last 5 years, it has been a policy decision of the government of Assam, especially the BJP government, is that we will not, the traditional politics shall not be allowed to dominate in Barak, because development has been very slow because of that. And the younger generation of Barakites are now realizing that if we do the traditional politics of Hindu-Muslim and keep ourselves busy with that, that is not going to really bring in development into the Barak Valley. We must really think in terms of the united Assam, as the
Right.
Chief Minister always keeps on talking about.
Absolutely.
That is
Chief
going to make a
Minister's
difference.
favorite phrase. He starts with Barak, Brahmaputra, Pahar, Bhoyam. He's always, that is his favorite catchphrase, and he starts with Barak. Let me take the same question to Prasenjit Biswas. I'm coming to the Raju Narjari and Dr. Rajiv Hendik. Prasenjit Biswas, what do you think of the BJP's election blitzkrieg as far as Barak Valley is concerned?
Yes, campaign really has changed the voters' mindset, no doubt about it, because there is lot of music, lot of parody, lot of presentation of oneself in a more colorful manner, in music, in songs, in slogans, etc. And as if it's a kind of a media competition in which Congress and BJP are both engaged in. But after some time it really catches the nerves of people, and therefore they become indifferent and desensitized to this kind of media bash that both Congress and BJP sides are doing. So therefore, although it has impacted public mind, yet it may not translate into votes so very easily. That is the only issue.
Now, Dr. Rajiv Hendik, you know, the second phase, 39 seats, now, you know, one has to say that it is going to be a very, very competitive elections. This is becoming a very interesting elections. Both sides are absolutely confident. BJP hugely confident of winning 100 plus seats. The Congress and its allies are also saying that they will perform well, and they're saying that don't underestimate us. That is the message from the Congress and its allies. Now the question is, every single seat is important. Nobody is leaving any stone unturned. Therefore, the 4 BTR seats which are going to polls on the 1st of April, as well as the 5 Hill District seats, 4 in Karbi Anglong and 1 in Dima Hasao. These are today, everybody, pollsters are saying that, well, BJP is very firmly poised. BJP is absolutely a consolidated lot as far as these 5 seats are concerned. But what is your take? Can anybody take things for granted? That is my question.
I think as far as the hill districts are concerned, I think BJP is very firmly entrenched in the Haflong seat. But there is going to be, I think, tough competition in Difu, Hauraghat, and even Bukajan. There is going to be very tough competition. And only yesterday, it was in the news that ASDC, they are actually in a way withdrawing and they are supporting the Congress. Now, if you look at the 2016 figures, you know, the ASDC, they actually they could get actually 20,000, 25,000, 17,000, 15,000. You know, that
let us also.
I don't know if that vote actually gets, you know, because that is a chunk of vote which even the BJP can, you know, take away. But it depends actually if they have the capacity to transfer those votes to the side that they are supporting. So therefore, I think it's going to be really a very, very tough contest, keen contest, and interesting for all of us to see what the outcome will be. And definitely, I think this second phase of election,
I'm running short of time. We'll have to wait and watch. I think the Ahom Jatiya Parikhad has also tied up with the ASDC in a few seats in Karbi Anglong. Final comments from you, Raju Narjari. Every single seat is important. Your final take on the 4 seats which are going to the polls on 1st of April, Paneri, Majbat, Udalguri and Kalaigao. These are the 4 BTR seats, assembly seats, which are going to the elections. And you have important leaders. You have leaders like Govinda Basumatari, who is the UPPL Vice President, former NDFB leader. You have Biswajit Doimari, which has recently joined your party, which has recently joined the BJP, quitting the BPF. So how do you look at these 4 seats? Very quick comments.
Was with the Biswajit Doimari will be winning this seat with huge margins. Govinda Basumatari will also win the seat with the huge margins. Masbad and Kalaigao, there is a friendly contest between UPPL and BJP. So the fight is between the 2 partners, and we will be happy that any of the party wins from these 2 seats.
Right.
So all the 4 seats will go to the NDA. That's for sure.
Okay, we'll
Mark
have to
my
wait and
words.
we'll have to wait and watch. Voter is king. 20 seconds to you, Joydeep Biswas. Wrap up. Okay, I unfortunately I cannot go back to Joydeep Biswas. Final comments to you, Mr. Swapnanil Barua. Second phase of the elections, extremely critical. You won 22 seats in 2016. So this is the phase that is going to clinch the results as far as May 2 is concerned.
We shall not only repeat, but we shall improve.
So you shall not only repeat, but that is called confidence, which the BJP State Vice President Swapnil Barua is saying. At the end of the day, this is going to be a very interesting fight. 74 or nearly 75,000 voters and 39 seats, 345 candidates spread over 13 districts. This will be a very keen contest, and we are all waiting for voting on the 1st of April. And like everybody else, Northeast Live would also like to appeal to the voters to come out in strength and vote in large numbers. This is not the last we are hearing. This is an evolving scenario. We'll have to wait and watch as to how the voters behave. At the end of the day, this is secret ballot. We'll have to wait until the 2nd of May for things to come out and we to know what has been the people's verdict. I thank all the panelists for participating in the show and the viewers for watching the program. Good night and goodbye.